If you just tuned in, you're watching a half-hour weekend analysis here on World Insight. This week, the Chinese city of Dao, which hosted last year's Olympic sailing competition, once again drew world attention. On Thursday, China's Navy celebrated its 60th birthday. An international guest list helped mark that occasion with both pomp and ceremony as the Navy recalled its humble beginnings and celebrated how far it's come since.
The Chinese Navy really knows throw a party. For spectators, it was a sort of naval Olympics. On Thursday, the port of Qingdao saw a spectacular parade called the Harmonious Ocean. It was China's first large-scale international maritime parade. The fleet of Chinese ships was accompanied by 21 guest ships from 14 navies. And the biggest stars were China's nuclear submarines on public display for the first time.
I felt very excited. I felt that China's Navy has become very powerful, and now we have many friends.
China is a big international actor, so a big power, so it's normal to have such a presence in a very important international engagement.
Today, an impressive review commemorates the Navy's achievements. But a century ago, not far from these waters, saw the Navy's humiliation. In 1895, China's Beiyang fleet, considered the strongest in Asia, suffered a crushing defeat during the First Sino-Japanese War. Over 50 years later, it was time to rebuild. The 1949 Navy consisted of just a few surrendered ships. In 1953, China imported 4 destroyers from the Soviet Union. For a long time, they were the country's main combat vessels. Soon after, China was determined to develop its own warships. In 1958, Chairman Mao Zedong declared, "We will build a nuclear submarine, even if it takes 10,000 years. It didn't take that long. Today, China boasts not only nuclear submarines, but also dozens of modernized destroyers, landing ships, and supporting ships.
The information technology for our first class of submarines was at quite a low level, but now our submarines are armed with guided missiles.
China is also planning to build an aircraft carrier. 9 countries now maintain such ships. They are the US, Britain, Russia, France, Italy, Spain, Brazil, India, and Thailand. But only the first 6 can build the carriers. India is trying to join the club by 2012. Experts say it should not be surprising if China builds one.
It's not because they have them, so we should too. China needs an aircraft to carry defense sovereignty over its long coastlines and vast waters. But China doesn't have large vessels that can patrol at sea for extended periods. If the country has aircraft carriers, the Navy would greatly strengthen its logistics and support facility system to improve remote ocean repairs, delivery, rescue, and supply capacities.
Having an aircraft carrier would be a big stride toward China's dream of building a blue water navy.
According to international norms, a navy patrolling the coast is a yellow navy, the one that can patrol offshore is a green navy, one with the capacity of combat in the ocean is a blue navy.
China's navy is reaching out. Since 1985, over 50 vessels have visited more than 40 countries. They brought not only a message of friendship, but also the latest technology of the Chinese Navy. But goodwill visits and drills with other countries are not enough. With its fast-growing economy, China needs to change its nearshore force to a blue water combat armada.
China's maritime interests are expanding day by day. Today, 80% of China's exports and imports are transported by sea. Maritime safety can directly influence a nation's economy. But piracy, maritime armed robbery, and smuggling pose enormous challenges to marine security. For this reason, we need a blue naval force.
China's Navy is turning blue. The proof is in the deployment to the coast of Somalia to fight pirates at the end of last year. The anti-piracy operation is the first overseas deployment of maritime forces since the 15th century. Its success is widely seen as a good sign towards building a blue navy. But it's also raised suspicions in some quarters. The Pentagon's latest annual report on the Chinese military, published late last month, exaggerates Chinese military power. Last month, Chinese boats tangled with a U.S. surveillance ship in the South China Sea. Hawks inside the Pentagon insist that China is spending heavily on expanding and upgrading its fleet, aiming to drive the U.S. military out of the Pacific.
If we see the globe as a chessboard, then imagine the oceans as important squares. Control them and control the world. Chinese naval strength lags far behind that of the U.S., Russia, and even Japan and India in some aspects. Some in the U.S. Defense Department talk up the China threat to justify greater spending on new weapons systems.
Without understanding, it's easy to be suspicious. The 4-day maritime celebrations and naval exchanges provided an excellent opportunity to change that.
It's not surprising to me to see the PLA Navy develop in the way that it has. I think it is important, however, that as we create naval capability, indeed any military capability, that there should be clearer communications with regard to what the intentions of that capability are. And that's why visits like mine and relationships like mine with Admiral Wu are important.
Face-to-face communication, frank dialogue, friendly competition. A range of activities has promoted understanding between visiting navies and China's. They are from different countries, but they're sailing together on the same ocean.
Well, if you think about it, 6 is more than half a lifetime for both you and me. But for a naval force, 60 years is really just the beginning. Building a navy is a costly and complex project. Friedrich Engels once said that a modern warship is not merely a product of major industries, but at the same time is a sample of it. China's navy has now sailed for 6 days and is on the blue ocean. A long voyage, though, is still ahead. We have a short voyage after the break, our last story, and when we come back, a star is born.